and welcome back to Bloom Her. If you're new here, my name is Emma, and this is a space for becoming the best version of yourself in a way that actually feels real. Not perfect, not overly aesthetic, not impossible to maintain, just real growth, real healing, and real life. So in my last video, we talked about needing a reset, not a whole new life, not a dramatic reinvention, but just a moment to pause, clean things up, and come back to yourself. But I feel like something that a lot of us don't talk about enough is what happens after that reset. Because resetting your life is one thing. You can clean your room, take a shower, get your planner out, make a cute little routine. Tell yourself, okay, this is it. I'm finally getting my life together and I'm locked in. And for a day or two, maybe even for a week, you feel super motivated. You're on this high. You feel like you're finally becoming her. But then real life starts happening again. You get tired, you have work, your emotions come back, your room gets messy again. You skip the gym once and then twice, you order takeout, you stop journaling, you stay up too late, you fall back into those old habits, and suddenly you feel like you've ruined everything. And I think that's where a lot of us give up. Not because we're lazy, not because we don't care either, but honestly because consistency is something that people think means you can't ever fall off. To be consistent, you can't give up. How do you stay consistent when motivation fades though? Because motivation will fade, that's normal. You're not going to wake up every single day feeling inspired, energized, healed, disciplined, productive, and ready to become the best version of yourself. Some days, you're going to wake up tired. That's the hard truth. You're going to wake up feeling anxious, you're going to feel lonely some days. Some days you're going to feel like you're, doing all of this work and you're just not seeing the results fast enough. And honestly, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. I think that the first thing we need to understand is that consistency is not about doing everything perfectly every day. Consistency is about learning how to come back to yourself without making it a whole dramatic thing. It's not, I missed one day, so I ruined my whole routine. It's, I missed one day, so I'm going to come back tomorrow. That sounds simple, but for a lot of us, especially if you're someone who struggles with all or nothing thinking, it's actually really hard. I can say so myself because I've experienced it. Sometimes we don't just skip one workout. We turn it into, I'm never going to be fit. We don't just have one unproductive day. We turn it into, I'm never going to get my life together. We don't just have one emotional night. We kind of just turn it into like, I'm back at square one. I thought I was healed, but I'm not. These are the things we're feeding our brain when, we have one off day. You're not back at square one just because you're having an off day, though. You're allowed to have an off day and still be growing. That's part of the process. You're allowed to rest and still be disciplined. And you're allowed to be inconsistent sometimes and still be someone who is trying. One thing that has helped me is realizing that I don't need to be motivated every day. I need systems that support me when the motivation is not there. Did you hear that right? Systems that support me. Because motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. You can't build your whole life around waiting to be ready. We have to stop that I'm gonna start Monday mindset. If you only clean when you feel motivated, your space is going to get overwhelming. If you only work on yourself when you feel inspired, you're gonna keep starting over all the time. If you only show up for yourself when life feels easy, you're going to struggle every time life gets hard. So instead of asking, how do I stay motivated? I think the better question is, how can I make showing up for myself easier? Because sometimes the problem is not that you're lazy. Sometimes your routine is just too unrealistic. You're trying to go from doing nothing to waking up at 5 a.m., working out, eating perfectly, journaling, reading, cleaning, saving money, healing trauma, being emotionally regulated, and never spiraling again. That's too much pressure. And when the routine is too extreme, you're not going to stick to it. because it doesn't actually fit and suit your life. A realistic routine gives you room to be a person. It gives you room to be tired. It gives you room to have work responsibilities, emotions, and days where you're just not at your best. So if you want to stay consistent, start smaller than you think that you need to. Instead of saying, I'm going to completely change my life this week, say, I'm going to do 3 things every day that make me feel a little bit more grounded, that make me feel a little more like myself. Maybe that's making your bed, drinking water, going for a walk, putting your phone away earlier, making one real meal, writing down how you feel, cleaning one small area, doing a 10-minute workout instead of forcing yourself into an hour when you're exhausted. It doesn't have to look impressive to be effective. Sometimes the small things are what actually build trust within yourself. And that's really what consistency is all about. It's self-trust. It's proving to yourself, even when I'm not perfect, I can still show up. Even when I fall off, I can still come back. Even when I don't feel motivated, I can still do one small thing that supports the version of me that I'm becoming. And I think that's such an important part of becoming her. Because becoming her is not about becoming someone who never struggles. That's not life. That's not how it works here. You can't have every day being 100%. It's becoming someone who doesn't abandon herself every time she struggles. The version of you will still have bad days. She still has emotions. She still has moments where she doesn't know what she's doing. But she doesn't use those moments as proof that she's hopeless. She gives herself grace, and then she gets back up. Another thing I think that we need to talk about is how easy it is to confuse consistency with intensity. A lot of people think that being consistent means going hard all of the time. But going hard all of the time usually leads to burnout. You don't need to completely exhaust yourself to prove that you're serious about your life. You don't need to, be productive every day and, be nonstop, go, go, go. You don't need to turn healing into another thing you punish yourself with. Sometimes consistency looks like slowing down before your crash. Sometimes it looks like choosing the simple version of the habit instead of skipping it completely. Maybe you don't have energy for a full workout, but you still stretch. Maybe you don't have energy to clean your whole room, but you clear your nightstand. Maybe you don't feel like journaling for 30 minutes, but you write one honest sentence. Maybe you don't feel like cooking a full meal, but you make something simple instead of giving up on yourself entirely. The small version still counts. You still did it and you still showed up. And I think we need to stop acting like something only matters if it's huge. A 10-minute walk counts. A 5-minute tidy counts. One healthy meal counts. One boundary counts. One honest conversation with yourself counts. One day of trying again counts. You do not need to build a life through one perfect day. That's not how it works. Not every day is going to be perfect. You build it through small decisions and you repeat it even if it's imperfect. I know it can feel boring sometimes, and I think that's another reason why people struggle with consistency. Starting over feels exciting, planning feels exciting, buying the notebook, making the routine, watching the motivational videos, that all feels really good. But actually living the routine, actually doing the boring little things every day, that's where discipline comes in. I'm very heavy and big on the word discipline because, and the problem is people think discipline means harsh. It means you have to be really hard on yourself, forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do, criticizing yourself all the time. But now I think real discipline is more like devotion. It's not, I hate myself, so I need to change. It's, I care about myself, so I'm going to keep showing up, even if I don't feel like it. That mindset changes everything, because when you're trying to grow from a place of self-hatred, every mistake feels like proof that you're not good enough. But when you're trying to grow from a place of self-respect, mistakes become something that you can learn from. You take it as a growth opportunity. You don't have to bully yourself into becoming better. You can support yourself into becoming better. And I think that's, all about treating yourself kindly with love. And I want you to stop asking yourself, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what would make this easier to maintain? Maybe your goals are too big right now. Maybe your routine needs to be simpler. Maybe you need more rest. Maybe you need less pressure. Maybe you need to stop trying to change 10 things at once and focus on 1 or 2 things that would genuinely improve your day. Because consistency is not supposed to feel like you're fighting yourself every single day. It will take effort, yes, but it should also feel supportive, and it should feel like you're building a life you can actually live in realistically. So here's something simple you can do. Pick your non-negotiables. Not 10, not 20, just 3. 3 small things that help you feel like yourself. For me, it could be something like making my space feel clean enough to breathe, moving my body even, a little, even when I don't feel like going to the gym. It grounds me mentally. And, maybe even just writing, a few sentences down in my notebook before going to bed at night to kind of close off my day. The point is, you don't have to copy somebody else's perfect routine. You need to know what keeps you connected to yourself. Because when life gets busy, emotional, or overwhelming, you need simple anchors. You need habits that bring you back. And when you mess up, which you will, don't turn it into a whole identity crisis. Just come back. That's it. Come back without the guilt spiral. Come back without calling yourself lazy. Come back without deciding that you've ruined everything and you need to start over all over again. You're allowed to restart as many times as you need to, but the goal is to stop making every restart feel like a failure. Because believe it or not, when you restart, that is still consistency because you're still showing up again. The old version of yourself, you may have, given up completely, and that old version may have, spiraled for weeks. The old version of you may have used one bad day as a reason to abandon yourself, but this version of you, this new version of you, she notices, she takes a breath, she adjusts, and she comes back. That is growth. So if nobody has told you this lately, you do not need to be perfectly motivated to become the person that you want to become. You just need to keep choosing yourself in small ways, especially when it's not exciting, especially when nobody's clapping, especially when it feels boring, especially when it feels slow. Because the little things you repeat are shaping your life. The way you talk to yourself is shaping your life. The way you recover from bad days is shaping your life. The way you show up when motivation fades is shaping your life. So don't wait until you feel like a completely new person. Start with one small promise to yourself and keep it. Then another, and another, and maybe another. And when you fall off, come back gently. Don't be so hard on yourself. That's how you build self-trust. That's how you build consistency, and that's how you become her. Not overnight, not perfectly, but for real. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If this helped you, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know one small habit you're trying to stay consistent with this week. I'll see you in the next Bloom Her video. Bye, guys.